God created man and many other creatures, not only jinn. There are many other things that we do not understand or know, and God has put a barrier between us and them. And as long as He has created this barrier, it means that we cannot cross it or try to communicate with them. And more importantly, we cannot play with them. Today's story is inspired by a very famous Japanese game, and it was written by Olivert James, so let's see what the story is about. We are not living alone, and I know this information, but I never imagined that I would confirm it myself. I am Kareem, and I was just starting my work in the Criminal Evidence Department. For those who do not understand what this department is, it is a new department that was established a few years ago. Our job is to collect evidence from the cases that have been solved and put them all together in a box. Each case and its evidence is in a box with its date and name on the shelf. And all the boxes are engraved on the old and the new in a neat way. And there is also a file on the computer in order to make it easier for us to access it. This does not mean that before this department was established, this evidence was not collected. No, it was collected in this order, but the new one is that the Criminal Evidence Department was established only. Anyway, it was my first day, and I received my shift from my colleague Ibrahim. My job that day was to sit in the office because if he sent evidence for a case that needs to be collected, and put it in a special box and put it on the shelf or be engraved, or if someone asked for specific evidence for a specific case, I go back to the case engraving and put it in a special box. My colleague was very kind and introduced me to the work system and introduced me to how to collect evidence in a box. And of course, he introduced me to how to put the boxes on the shelf and told me everything I need to know on my first day at work. Ibrahim was the first person to work in this department, and he was the one who collected all the evidence of the cases engraved on this shelf and knew what each case was talking about. Because of this, I was very curious to ask him, "Is it true that you know all these cases, and you are also the one who put them here? Can you tell me about the strangest case that was here? If the strangest case is the girl who was found dead in the bathroom, and her eyes are not present." "What do you mean? Her eyes are not present? It's a mystery, and who did this to her?" He replied to me and told me this is the strange thing about this. The police can't catch who did this to her, and the case was closed, and it was written in court that the case was filed against an unknown person. Until today, no one knows who did this to this poor girl. I said, No, you tell me the case from the beginning. When and where did it happen, and what did you find in the apartment with her? Tell me everything. He replied to me, laughing, and told me, "Take your time, relax. I honestly need to go to my wife and children, so I won't be able to tell you anything. But I can tell you the history of the case and its name, and you look for it. And you read the history of the case and see the evidence yourself." I said, "Of course I agree, but is it possible?" He replied, "Of course it is possible. As long as she is here and does not leave the apartment, it is possible. In general, you will find it in the date of 2016. The victim's name is Riyam Ahmed or Mohammed, something like that. Search and you will find it." I said, "This is very old, 2016? He replied, "Yes, and they didn't know how to get the thing in it, so it took a long time. And they lost hope in it, and they closed it and brought it here to put it. God be with you in the first day of work. I will go now, and if you need anything, call me." I handed it over to Ibrahim, and I closed the door of the office. I opened the computer and searched for the case. I found a murder case in 2016 against an unknown person. And the victim's name is Riyam Mahmoud. I thought that this is what Ibrahim meant. I found it on the shelf in the date of 2016. And I searched until I found it. I took it and put it on the desk and I covered it with a shirt. I was very excited to know what this case is. And I was also excited to read its report. But a knock knocked on the door, and the officer came in to deliver us the new case. To collect it, we put it in the new drawer. I removed Riyam's case box and put it on the floor next to the office. And I started collecting the cases that she brought to me, and I started working. The work was not difficult, but if this is your first day, it will take a long time to finish collecting the evidences, and make sure that everything is in order and that the date and the name are written correctly. You can't make any mistake in this work. That's why I was very careful. I took all the time to collect the cases, and I wrote their reports on the computer. I also wrote the contents of the box until I saw that it was finished. And I didn't find a single mistake in the case that Ibrahim told me about. I don't know how I came up with this idea or how I did it, but I honestly took the case home with me. I was able to take it from the office to my car, and I went back to the office to hand over my shift to our third shift. I told him about the new case and I handed it over to him, and I ran to the car as fast as I could, as if I was in an accident. I was in an accident, really, because if anyone knew what I did, I could have been investigated. But I couldn't keep quiet. I couldn't wait another day to read the case in the office. I had to know what this case was about and what happened to Raham. I was like a kid who brought a new game, and I was so excited to go home and play with it. And there was nothing on my mind but to go home as fast as I could. That was me in the car on my way home with the case box in my car's trunk. I got to the apartment and I ran into my office room. I put the case in the trunk and I quickly went into the kitchen, made a cup of tea and had a light dinner. I live alone, by the way. I decided 2 years ago to leave my family and live alone. And that's the best decision I've ever made in my life, especially now. I don't want anyone to ask me how I got the case box, or to cut me off while I'm investigating the case. I got out of the kitchen, had a cup of tea and a light dinner, and went to the office room. I put the case in the office and started opening the box. In the name of God, I opened the box and took out the report of the case, which was the first thing in front of me, and I put it next to me. Underneath it, I found everything in a bag with a piece of paper inside. The first bag I took out was a white dress bag. The victim was wearing it when they found her, and there was blood on it. The second bag had the victim's laptop, and the third bag had a small yellow bag. The victim's notes were written on the paper. There was nothing else in the box that caught my attention. The rest of the bags were things they found next to the victim in the crime scene. These things could have helped them find the killer, like a pen, a lighter, the victim's mobile phone, and a candle that they had been burning for half an hour. But I found things that were not necessary. I took the office chair and sat down. I took the report of the case and started reading it. The day of the death was September 9th, 2016. The time of death was midnight. The day of the body was October 11th, 2016. The cause of death was a fracture in the skull after a blow to the head in the bathroom. When the body was found, it was found in the bathroom of the victim's apartment next to the bathroom. It was in the case of the kidney transplant, and there were traces of terror on the victim's face, with the victim's 2 eyes missing. She was wearing a white, wrinkled, blood-stained dress after the removal of 2 of her eyes. The victim was found in her apartment 36 hours after her death at 10 a.m. when she disappeared from her work and went to visit her coworker, who contacted the police when she continued to knock on the door without answering. The witnesses said that it is not her habit to disappear from work and not to answer her phone. She did not have any enemies who might want to hurt her, and she did not have suicidal tendencies. The victim's laptop was found in the crime scene, with its screen broken and the victim's memorials lying on the floor. The memorials were open and stained with blood in the room next to the bathroom. The victim's phone, pen and pen were also found on the floor. Unfortunately, nothing else was written in the report except for the victim's case and the evidence they found with her to make sure that everything is there. I wanted to read the witness's testimony and more details about the case, but there is nothing here except for the material evidence and nothing else about the case. I closed the report and put it on the desk and held the bag containing her memorials. Why were these memorials open and thrown on the floor next to the place where they were found and stained with blood? I opened the bag, took out the memorials and started to flip them. She was a normal girl, like any girl who is 27 years old and has her life and work. Who would do this to her and hurt her with this sight? But what stopped me in the memorials were the pages written in a worse line than the line written in the other pages. It was the same line of the girl, but it was like she was writing fast and didn't care about her line. The important thing is to write, and that's it. I put the memorials on the desk and started to read from the beginning of the part that was written in an irregular way. It was written like this. I couldn't play this game. I couldn't listen to my curiosity and do what I did. No one will believe me, but I need to write everything that happened. Maybe someone will find these memorials and know what happened to me. Started when I moved to my new apartment. I moved away from my family and started living alone. I was excited and did everything I wanted to do when I lived alone. I did everything and enjoyed it, but I also felt that there were other things to do while I was alone and no one was with me in the apartment. I found what I was looking for and I wish I hadn't found it. A week ago, I was sitting on my laptop at night. I was scrolling through my Facebook until I found someone talking about a scary Japanese game and warning anyone to play it. He was saying it was a deadly game, but my curiosity was bigger than me. I was excited and read its rules and decided to play it no matter what the warnings were and no matter what the person was saying. The rules were easy. All I had to do was go to the bathroom, sit in the middle of the bathroom and my head under the sink. I washed my hair and closed my eyes. At the same time, I repeated a sentence all the time while I was washing my hair. I imagined a Japanese woman wearing a white dress with blood on it and her hair was black and long. She stood towards the sink and pulled down and died. All this while I was closing my eyes. When I finished, I was supposed to hear a movement or sound in the bathroom and I would have prepared the spirit I was going to play with. I would ask her loudly why I fell in the bathroom and then I would get up and leave the bathroom while I was still closing my eyes and did not open my eyes until I got out of the bathroom and closed the door. I would leave the water in the bathroom and leave everything as it was. I would close the bathroom door and do not enter again on this night and I would sleep without drying myself. The game is supposed to start when I wake up the next day and the game starts when I do not let the spirit of the girl I prepared hold me. The game goes on all day, but she will be with me and there are 2 sentences I have to memorize. One I say when she gets close to me and tries to hold me and when I say she will stop and I have to run away, and the second one to finish the game and I have to finish it before 12 o'clock. I say this sentence 3 times and I move my hand in the air as if I am cutting the line between me and her so that she stops running after me and tries to hold me. I honestly found it easy. There was nothing and I sat alone bored. I closed my laptop and did everything according to the rules. I went to the bathroom and washed my hair and repeated the sentence and I imagined the Japanese girl and it really worked. I felt a movement in the bathroom. I was very excited and the adrenaline increased, but I could not control myself and I opened my eyes to imagine her standing next to me. She was exactly as I imagined, a Japanese girl wearing a white dress with blood on it, and her hair was black and her face was swollen, but her eyes were not there, they were empty, and suddenly she turned her face towards me and saw me. When I looked at her I was surprised, and I closed my eyes and finished washing my hair and I continued the rest of the rules. I turned off all the lights and I went to my room. I lit a candle and I slept, but I had a strange dream. I do not know if it was related to the game, but I dreamed that I was in a big house like a palace. But I wasn't the one in the dream. It was as if I was in the body of another girl in a white dress, running from someone. She got out of the bathroom and ran towards the bathroom. She locked herself in, and the man who was running after her kept knocking and trying to break the door. He had a knife in his hand. He kept hitting the door with his body and the knife until he succeeded and broke the door. He held her by her hair and was still going to hit her in the face with the knife, but I woke up startled from sleep, screaming. I looked at the clock next to me, but there was only 1 hour left for me to sleep. I couldn't turn on the alarm clock next to me so as not to break the rules of the game. So I sat in the darkness under the candlelight thinking, what is this dream and who is this? This wasn't me. And who is the man who was running after her? And why is he running after her with a knife in his hand? I didn't find an explanation for the dream except that it was a nightmare. It could be because of what I saw in the bathroom or the preparation of this game. But I encouraged myself and continued to sleep to wake up the next day to play and enjoy the game. I woke up the next day and the game was supposed to start. I didn't feel anything strange when I woke up, and I got up to get ready for work. But I started to I felt that she was standing in the kitchen making breakfast for me. I started to feel that she was standing behind me. I felt her and saw her in front of me, But when I turned quickly, there was no one standing. And then I knew that the game really started. And according to the rules of the game, I feel it all day long. And I'm supposed to run from her and not let her catch me. Honestly, sometimes I got more excited and said, I will live an adventurous day, and I will keep playing with her all day long until I go home at night. But I didn't know that this would be the worst day of my life. I prepared myself and wrote the 2 sentences that I was supposed to memorize in order to use them during the game. I wrote them on a piece of paper and put them in my pocket. And I went downstairs to go to work. I felt her again standing behind me while I was riding the car. And I imagined her sitting in the back of the car, but I didn't see her. She was disappearing as soon as I turned my face. But I didn't care much and got in the car and went to work. But I felt her with me all the way until I saw her in the mirror of the car. I jumped and stepped on a brake, and my brain was hit by a hard filtration. But like the last 2 times when I turned my face to see her, she wasn't there. Just like what I used to see in horror movies that happened to me. I was scared, but the short film made me want to continue. I could have finished the game by then, but unfortunately, I liked what was happening. I said, I will live in horror movies that I love, and I insisted and finished the game. And I went to work. I thought this was the worst thing that could happen, or that I would feel her around me. And when I turned my face, she would disappear. And I could walk away from the place I felt her in to get away from her. But I didn't expect to see her everywhere in the office. And I didn't know how to continue my day at all, because I was standing behind my boss at work, and I didn't know how to talk to him, because of the stress I was feeling. I didn't know that I would miss an important paper at work, because I was sitting in front of the office, until I saw her as I was walking in the office hallway. I saw her standing at the end of the hallway, and suddenly I saw her running at me. I closed my eyes out of fear, and quickly said the word I memorized, which I was supposed to stop, and I said it out loud. I opened my eyes, and I didn't see her, but I saw a group of my colleagues around me, looking at me in amazement. They looked at me and asked me if I was okay. I said okay, and I went to my office, nervous and devastated. But I didn't know what was going to happen. I was the one who started the game, and I knew what was going to happen. These are the rules of the game. I knew what was going to happen, but when I played with my soul, I prepared it. And as they say, the one who prepared the puzzle should spend it. And I prepared the puzzle and I spent it. I couldn't take it and I had to finish the game. It was too much for me. Something could happen to me or ruin my job. I closed the door and read the sentence that ended the game. I said it out loud. Nothing happened. The game was over. But as it was written after I said this sentence, the game was supposed to be over and it would stop kicking me out. I finished the day at work and I went home and I thought I was done. But I was wrong. I went home, changed my clothes and had lunch. Everything was fine and I felt that my life was back to normal. I went to the bathroom and emptied the water bottle so that the game was really over. Then I went to sleep. I saw the same nightmare again, but this time I saw it from the beginning. The same girl in the same dress. But this time, she was leaning towards an empty room. From a small window, it was clear that there were 3 men standing in the room, wearing black suits. One of them was sitting in front of them, sitting on his knees on the floor. He was wearing a black bag on his face. One of them was leaning towards him and took the bag off his face. It was clear that his face was all bruised, and he looked terrified. When they took the bag off his face, he said something that I didn't understand. It was in another language. I think it was Asian. I didn't understand what he was saying, but what I understood was that he was telling them not to kill him, and he was in tears. The man who was close to him took the bag off his face, threw the bag on the floor, took a knife out of his pocket and killed him. The girl screamed, and everyone in the room saw her. One of them, who was older than him, shouted at the girl and yelled at them in the same Asian language. I didn't understand either, but I'm sure he meant for them to hold her so that the other 2 could run after her, but only one of them could follow her and run after her to the top. He tried to hold her before she entered the bathroom, but the girl knew from him and went into the bathroom and closed the door. He knocked on the door and tried to break his body with the knife in his hand, until he broke it. He attacked her and grabbed her hair. He started to wring her face and eyes with the knife in his hand and threw it on the bathroom. Before she could get in the bathroom, I fell. I fell out of the bathroom and I screamed. I couldn't breathe and I couldn't control my nerves. My whole body was shaking and I fell out of the bathroom. For a few minutes, I tried to control my nerves and calm myself down. I looked at the clock next to me and it was 3 a.m. I heard something from outside. I heard the bathroom door creaking and I heard a knock near the creaking, as if someone was trying to break the door. The bathroom door was facing the room, so it was close and I could hear it. I gathered my courage and I went out to see what was going on. What was going on outside the apartment? But I didn't find anything. The bathroom door was open and there was no sound of knocking or creaking. I got closer to the bathroom and I turned on the light and I saw her for a second. Yes, I saw her. She was standing in the bathroom and I saw her for the first time. She was wearing a white dress and she was bleeding. I couldn't sleep that night or any night after that. I was supposed to finish the game, but I saw her everywhere I went. At home, at work, in the car, in the street. Anywhere I went, I had to see her. All the time, I felt her with me, and she chased me away. I saw her running at me, and suddenly she disappeared. The worst time was when I was trying to sleep. I was dreaming of the same nightmare. I was dreaming of the same man who was holding her and killing her. And I woke up in the middle of the night, screaming and banging on the bathroom door. I couldn't live, and I didn't know what was happening to me. I finished the game, and I was supposed to leave me alone. Who am I dreaming of, and what is their connection to me? A week passed, and something worse than the day before happened to me every day. I saw her getting closer to me, every day closer than the day before. She didn't disappear no matter how much I screamed at her, or said the sentence ending the game again. I repeated it several times, and there was nothing to do. I felt that the end of what was happening would be the end of me. Every day she got closer to me more than the day before, and she would hold me close. This morning, I saw her standing behind me in the mirror, and she was getting closer to me to hold me. Of course, when she holds me, I will die. I lost the game. I lost a game that was not supposed to be played from the beginning. This was the last thing Riam wrote. The last thing she wrote before she died. Riam knew that her end was near. I closed my notes, opened the laptop's case, and put it in front of me on the desk. I don't know why I did that, but I opened it. Of course, it was a charging cable, but luckily it was the same type as my old laptop. I was looking for the charger until I found it. I connected the charger to the power supply, and it took a long time for it to turn on, but it did. I connected it to the home's internet and checked the chat's history. I found 2 links to 2 important websites, a link for the game's rules, and a link that was looking for the origin of the game and the Japanese girl's soul. I clicked on the game's link and I read the rules. I read that Riam made 2 mistakes, according to the warnings she wrote. One of the rules was that you're not allowed to open your eyes when you feel it for the first time in the bathroom with you, and you're not allowed to look at it. But Riam made a mistake and opened her eyes and saw it, and she was standing next to her in the bathroom. Another mistake was that she didn't finish the game in the first place because she counted to 12, and one of the rules was that she finished the game by saying the sentence 3 times, but Riam's mistake was that she said it once, and those were the reasons that made the soul leave her, and maybe the soul was the reason for her death. Suddenly, I heard a knock from outside. I got up and went out quietly. I discovered that the knock was coming from the bathroom. I hid and went to see what was happening. I opened the bathroom door, but I didn't find anything. I laughed at myself and I started to imagine things. I went back to the office and sat in front of the laptop, and I opened a second link in the history. Riam was trying to find the origin of this girl and who killed her. I saw a case that happened in Japan 15 years ago. The girl's killer was working as a housekeeper for a high-ranking official in the state, but at the same time he was involved in the Japanese mafia. This girl was found killed in his palace bathroom. Her head was stuck in the bathroom, and her eyes were missing. Witnesses say that she saw something she couldn't see, so they got rid of her. Of course, no one could catch them, and it was written that she committed suicide. This is what happened to Riam in almost everything. Did the soul really kill her in the same way as she died? Did Riam lose the game and be punished for dying in the same way as the girl who killed her? I read about angry souls that kill people and try to take revenge and keep hurting people until they take revenge. Is this really true? Is this girl's soul angry? Even if the reasons were not related to things we don't know about, and there should be a barrier between us and them, curiosity is stronger than a person controlling it, and her curiosity led her to kill her. And as her curiosity killed her, my curiosity also led me to take the case box with me and look for things I don't need. This may lead me to leave my job, and this may also lead me to see her. Yes, I see her. I see Riem on the laptop screen when the screen went dark. I was able to see her standing behind me. This is the end of the story. I hope you liked it. I thank Olivert James for the story, the editing, and the writing. I thank Nadia Kumar for the editing and the coordination. I thank you for listening. I hope you liked the story. If you are listening to this story, I hope you pray for me to get well soon and to tell you more stories than I have told you before. See you in the next episode. Good night.